So if you've been meaning to try meal prepping to save time and cut down on eating out, this is a great first recipe to help you get started. It just takes a few minutes of prep and you get to sit down to a nice bowl of noodles for lunch or dinner. These meal prep soup jars are packed with fiber from the veggies and herbs. You also have protein from the chicken and edamame. Plus, it's just got so much flavor thanks to the easy homemade soup base made with miso and a few other components. It's essentially an umami bomb that makes the dish so rich and flavorful, even though all you did was add hot water. It's got everything you need to fuel you and keep you full and satisfied until your next meal. And the best part is it just takes a few minutes to prep and costs literally pennies to make. It's also really customizable, so you can swap out some of the veggies and herbs, as well as the noodles. You can use any other quick cook noodle in place of the vermicelli. So here is everything that we need for our soup jars. I have the recipe linked for you guys in the description box below. You can also check out my website because I have tons of other meal prep recipes available on there. So we're gonna begin with prepping our vegetables, and you really wanna try to slice them as thin as possible. If you have a mandolin, you can use that. Just remember that the hot water will soften the vegetables, but it's not going to be hot enough to fully cook them. To my soup, I'm going to be adding some green onions, bok choy, fresh cilantro. We also have here some frozen edamame. So these are already shelled. You can get them from the supermarket in the frozen section. For our protein, you can use whatever you want, steak, pork. I'm going with leftover chicken. For our noodle, we're going to be using rice noodle. You really just want a quick cook noodle for this dish because they're not actually going to be boiling. They're just gonna essentially be soaking in hot water. So you want to go with a really thin, quick noodle for this dish. Next, we're gonna add some fresh cilantro. Just measure with your heart. So these are just the herbs and veggies that I love and tend to have around, but you can always swap them out with different leafy greens and herbs. So in place of the bok choy, you can also use something like baby spinach, or maybe some thinly sliced cabbage, or even bean sprouts. I would refrain from using anything too hearty like broccoli, because then you're just gonna end up with raw broccoli in your soup. So now it's time to build our flavor base, aka our soup base, and we're starting with a little bit of soy sauce and miso paste. Next, we're adding a squirt or so of sriracha. Go ahead and adjust that based on your preferred level of spice. Next, some garlic powder and some Better Than Bouillon roasted chicken base, which can be substituted with regular chicken bouillon cube or bouillon powder. And this is really going to enhance that chicken flavor throughout the broth and the soup. I also added a splash of sesame oil and grated in some fresh ginger. And now we can go ahead and mix that all up. If you don't have a tiny whisk here like I do, you can just go ahead and use a fork. So now it's time to assemble our jars, and we want to start with our heartier items at the bottom. So that would be our proteins. We have our chicken and our edamame. Next, we're adding in our bok choy. And I completely forgot about our carrots and bell peppers, but they should have gone in before our more delicate herbs like our green onions and cilantro. But you know, not a big deal. At the end of the day, it all tasted the same. And lastly, we can go in with our noodles, and now we are essentially done. So make as many of these as you'd like. They store really well in the refrigerator. You want to make sure that you keep them in an airtight container, and you can store them for about 3 to 4 days. I'm repurposing these old marinara jars. They're great because they have a wide rim, so it's really easy to eat out of. Now, once you're ready to have your noodles, you want to go ahead and take it out of the fridge and let it come to room temperature before adding in your hot water. And your water really shouldn't be like boiling, piping hot. If your water has come to a boil, let it sit for a little bit to cool before adding it into the jar to prevent any potential shattering. Then fasten on the lid and let it sit for about 5 minutes. Should be enough time for all the veggies as well as the noodles to soften, and then you can open the lid and give everything a good mix so all those flavors can release. and then it is time to dig in. So again, if you're eating this at work or outside of the home, you can eat it right out of the jar, but I like to transfer them to a bowl. It just makes me feel a little bit more civilized. Now, if somebody served this to me and told me that it took them hours to prepare it, I would believe them. Like, it's amazing how we were able to develop these flavors with such little time and effort. Truly, it is insane. But don't let me convince you. Go ahead and try it out for yourself. And if you do, please leave me a comment and let me know how you liked it.